police were there and did a presentation, as well as Corey. But we're trying to address it from a parental perspective, a student perspective, and a faculty perspective to create awareness. If you keep the awareness at the forefront, and if you walk into some of our schools, you'll see posters and signs. Every classroom should have anonymous bullying reporting sign, and every classroom in the whole school system, everywhere. And we try to have a school promise as well. And so there's a lot of different ways that we're trying to attack this what I refer to as a social ill. I really do, because it's systemic.
I think that's an important point. I know we had talked about the resources you have. Now, Corey, as part of your program, you have your SPF Youth, which is Somerville Positive Forces, and I know you wanted to chat a little bit about some of the initiatives that they've been taking on.
Sure. Well, we look at it as youth empowerment. Yes. We want to give the adults the messages and the tools, but we also want to empower the youth to they have a choice in this. They have a choice of who they are friends with, who they hang out with. And one of the programs, or one of the campaigns that our youth do, and that Lovely Heller, our program director, put together, it was We Are Somerville campaign, which is...
You're wearing the pin.
the pins. And mostly we go to lunches at the high school and the middle schools, and we give these pins out, and people can put who they are. Who are you? Are you caring? Are you an athlete? And mostly, the biggest thing, it raises self-esteem, because a lot of people, it's hard to talk about yourself. It just is. I mean, but when they think about negatives, tons.
Right. Those always come right to mind.
So we really want them to state who they are, and also it's a conversation starter. So a bunch of these kids will wear these pins around the school, and the people that they don't know, they'll say, "Oh, you know what? You're an athlete. So am I. What do you play?" And that's what kids that become bullies, or people that bully each other, they're either jealous of somebody else, they don't know people, and they just try to get out of situations. So this gives them a way of getting to know people. We also do the public forums at the middle school, just like you said, and one of the things that we initiated was the pledge at the end, and it's a huge banner. It's a 8x3 banner that all the kids, the 7th and 8th graders, get to sign. So they get the chance to make a stand, and they say, "We don't want this at our school."
And tell us what the pledge says.
The pledge, it's long, but it just says,
idea of the pledge.
It just says, we don't want bullying in our school. We don't think that people should be labeled by race, religion, ethnic background, and we don't want this. And then they all sign it, and each school actually has it up in their school. And then when people come in their school, people know it.
I think it's very empowering, as you had said, for the young people, because at that age, so much of what you're hearing is what's told to you. It's told to you by adults, and here's what you should do and shouldn't do, and here's what you need to do. And this really provides them with an option. And again, seeing them, as you said, you have the pledge laid out and millions of markers, and they actually like jostling each other a little, like, I want to sign, I want this spot, and I want my name to be this big. But I think reinforcing that messaging every day when you walk into the building, and when parents come in for parent-teacher conferences, and when, a program comes in to do a special service for them. This is what you're seeing, and it really has the potential to change the culture of what is and isn't acceptable. I mean, we speak so much now about social norms and ways to work on that, but imagine what it could be like for these young people now, for their children to go to school in a culture where it's not even a concern because it has just been eradicated, where it is so unacceptable to do it that no one would dare to, because you would be so marginalized. And I think, all the steps, that's excellent. All the steps that you guys are taking, I think really helps to reinforce that it has no place anywhere. And I think realizing for some young people too, school is one of the few safe places for a lot of our young people due to other situations happening. So if that's the place you go where you're getting a free breakfast and a free lunch and you have friends and there's a social component and there's a teacher that takes a special interest in you to make sure you're always doing okay, that place can really replicate the safeness that maybe you don't feel in other situations. And to know that the continuity is there for that to just be safe all the time, I think is so important. That's why I have such respect for the work that all of you are doing, pardon me, to just ensure that this is the feeling our young people have all the time.
And I do want to say that the other 3 people involved in that, in a bullying situation, And the aggressor needs support.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
we see it very often when we do mediations and there's a conflict and somebody might have been more of an aggressor than the other person or was the aggressor. They also need support. So they need, and in mediation we don't take sides, we don't look at right and wrong. And very often we see that we need to see if they can get some counseling or something else after the mediation. So we do a holistic approach
When you
to a child.
when you delve into this and you look at the aggressor, when you really look into the aggressor, you'll find that the aggressor often has, anger issues, but it's for a reason.
Something's driving that behavior.
For example, you may find the family's struggling right now. They may be homeless or have gone through a real difficult time, and they're angry and they don't know how to deal with their anger, and it comes out a certain way, and you can't look at it as like, this is a bad kid.
Right. No.
It's and I
That's why
always
the language
say
is
this
so
all the
important.
time.
Very important.
It's good kids making bad decisions, and we can change that. We can work with that.
Well, that's why we try to look at environmental factors, because everything that happens, bad home life, how was their walk to school? I mean, it could have been, they could have got picked on, or, what's happening in their classroom? Is their teacher really taking time? We just met with 6th graders yesterday, and every one of them have different environmental factors that are affecting them. There's reasons why they do this.
Right.
So I think it's our job. That's why we try to go into the middle school now to see those root causes. Because once we get those root causes, then we can work with those.
Work on the problem.
Because you know that nobody can be really happy if they're picking on somebody. If they that need to pick on somebody, you can't be happy within yourself.
Well, that's why I think it was important when you said the holistic approach, because that's why I mentioned the access to food, because we know that's a concern to young people here now.
Absolutely.
I mean, so many of the young people, that we work with, their families are accessing food pantries, and it's great that we have these resources in the community, but when you think of the fact, you're coming to school, you're expected to learn and be present for all of these hours, and how can you do that if you're coming to school hungry or, have these other concerns, or knowing that when you get home, there may not be access to as much food as you need, or, and we see a lot of our young people who are in parentified roles as caregivers for their younger siblings. So I think there are so many more stresses sometimes that people who aren't directly working with young people aren't always easily able to identify, and I think sometimes it's easy to write off someone's behavior, as you said, labeling them a bad kid. And we know they're not bad kids. There is clearly something driving this behavior. So as you mentioned, if you're able to identify the root cause, not only do you have a chance to make life easier for the target of this person's behavior, but you have the potential to really change that young person's trajectory. And I say that with no exaggeration. I mean, you can definitely make such an impact, and the ripple effect of that can be huge, because if this young person is acting out in an aggressive manner and is friendly with other people who are acting in an aggressive manner, and they make a change or modify their behavior, who knows the impact that could have on their, other little group of people they're with.
Right. And I think that the city and I think the Somerville Public Schools takes that holistic approach. We have many services that we can give to families and within the city and within the school department. Very important.
The superintendent has just given us. We have a contract with Riverside Mental Health, and I, as a student service person, had just picked up 120 hours annually for counseling for students. So we use them in cases as part of like the behavior plan for a student who may be displaying aggressive behavior. We use it when we deal with a student who may have a discipline issue that needs to be addressed. We also use it for, and we've used it many times for a student who is the target, who may be feeling bad about themselves, and Riverside's been a great resource for us. And I just recently spoke in Newton about what we do, and they were so impressed that our superintendent supported these kind of resources, spent money on this, because it's a great resource for all of us here to use. And I can't say enough about these guys. They're wonderful. They really have been a real strong resource for our bullying prevention and intervention plan. Really have.
Well, I think collaboration clearly is the key to this, and if guys have noticed through your conversations, you each have been very supportive of what the other has said. So it's really nice to kind of see the collaboration in action. I mean, you all have your individual programs and areas of work, but the way that your program is able to support the forums you're doing, and you're able to get your young people engaged, I think it just really provides a nice climate for all of this. So, Rich, I wanted to come back to you for a moment. If people are looking for more information about this, or parents want information as opposed to they're not in like a formal complaint mode, but maybe are feeling something about their kid just doesn't seem right, would they access you? What would be a great first step?
Well, they can always call me at our city line, extension 6030, and I have numerous resources. All our guidance counselor educators and guidance counselors have access to our curriculum and the same mental health resources for support. If they're interested in, per se, what we have in the bullying, we have a full bullying website on our SBS site that has links to other supportive sites from LGBT, the state bullying plan, what the state says it is. And then we have our own bullying plan, which is a 15-page document that really outlines exactly what we do. And I can say this with confidence to all the parents out there: when it's reported, we act. And if you're not happy, you call me, and we'll look into it. And because it's too serious an issue to overlook or take lightly.
Right.
Most definitely. As we're coming to a close, I wanted to thank each of you for taking time to come on and discuss this. I know this is a topic we could talk about endlessly because there's just so much concern and so much work to be done, but I think, you all have my admiration for the work that you're doing and really the strides that you've made in addressing this concern. So thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you.
As always, I'd like to thank the production crew, Joe Constantine, Kelsey Cody, and George Wood. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next month.